So, we are absolutely ready to start with this session, which would be moderated by, by Mr. Shomin Chakraborty. And the speakers are indeed luminaries in their own field. Some of them we have been hearing for the past few years. Some of them have joined us. So we have Acharya Dr. Lokesh Muniji Maharaj, and we have Dr. Prasoon Mishra. We have Haji Saeed Salman Chishti, and of course, as a speaker and as the moderator, we will find with us today Mr. Shomin Chakraborty. So may I invite the speakers and the moderators onto the dais, please? Mr. Shomin Chakraborty, speaker and moderator. Acharya Dr. Lokesh Muniji Maharaj, Dr. Prasoon Mishra, Haji Syed Salman Chishti ji. Oh, right, they are not yet back from. All right, so we'll just be waiting a few more minutes before everyone, all of the participants come back from lunch, and we would be starting our session then. But it goes, I mean, it does not bear too much repetition to say that the proceedings are really heating up now, and the panel discussions, this panel discussion and the one to follow are absolutely, they are going to be really interesting. So we have our participants coming back in numbers from the lunch, and I think we would be able to commence our program, our panel discussion in a short while.
It's indeed an honor and privilege to address this August gathering where wisdom, compassion, and purpose converge. Today we are graced by the presence of luminaries who embody the essence of humanity and spirituality. At the forefront is a revered Acharya Dr. Lokesh Muniji Maharaj, a beacon of enlightenment, a profound spiritual leader, a social reformer, poet, and an author. Acharya ji, your unwavering commitment to spreading the messages of peace, non-violence, and universal brotherhood continues to inspire millions across the globe. Your presence here enriches our confluence, and we eagerly await your wisdom. This section will be masterfully moderated by Mr. Shomin Chakraborty, a visionary and the founder of the Good Human Being Index. Shominji, your unique initiative to measure and inspire goodness and humanity is a testament to your deep understanding of the human spirit. It is an honor to welcome Haji Syed Salman Chishti, chairman of the Chishti Foundation, a distinguished spiritual leader and an eloquent advocate for interfaith harmony. Your dedication fostering unity among diverse traditions exemplifies the spirit of the confluence. Welcome. As we gather under the shared vision of promoting harmony and enlightenment, this forum serves as a reminder that the path to our global peace begins with individual transformation. Our conversations today will surely illuminate the synergies between humanity's power and spirituality's boundless potential. Let us embrace the opportunity to delve into these meaningful dialogues, bridge divides, and inspire collective action for a better world. Once again, a warm welcome to each of you. May this gathering be a source of inspiration, hope, and renewal for all. Thank you.
May I request Yagesh Kanodia to do the felicitation, starting with her moderator here, as also a participant in the panel, Mr. Shomin Chakraborty. And Dr. Lokesh Muniji Maharaj. and Haji Syed Salman Chishti ji, as also Dr. Prasoon Mishra. And Dr. H.P. Kanoria. May I now request the moderator, Mr. Shumen Chakraborty, to please start the proceedings.
Should be, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the welcome address. Thank you, the Kanoria family, dignitaries, distinguished guests, my fellow participants in the panelists in the dais, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the first session of the 15th World Confluence of Humanity, Power, and Spirituality. The topic for this year's conference is Science and Spirituality in Humanity, which aims to unify science, technology, spirituality, humanity under one platform, as it has hitherto before been working in isolation in its effort to transform humanity. The most important scientific subject that we know at the core is mathematics. And if we trace back where mathematics comes from, it comes from logic. Logic comes from philosophy, and philosophy is a subject of arts. So whichever angle we want to look at it, it is one and the same. We just give it different names and then look at it differently. Science is no different from spirituality or the objects of humanity to be achieved through both of them together. It is my honor and pleasure and privilege to start this session, both as a panelist and a moderator. I would now invite my fellow panelist, Acharya Dr. Lokesh Muni Maharaj Ji, spiritual leader, social reformer, poet and author, to deliver his address. Acharya Ji.
कनोडिया फाउंडेशन द्वारा आयोजित ये विश्व धर्म संसद, जिसमें हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं अध्यात्म की, मानवता की, और उद्घाटन सत्र में भारत के पूर्व राष्ट्रपति माननीय रामनाथ सिंह कोविंद जी ने एक बहुत ही सुंदर बात कही और उन्होंने कहा कि कानोडिया फाउंडेशन या डॉक्टर एचपी कानोडिया ये काम क्यों कर पा रहे हैं। मैं उसी बात को आगे बढ़ा रहा हूं। अभी हमारे कार्यक्रम के संयोजक सुमेल चक्रवर्ती जी ने कहा, धर्म और अध्यात्म की बात की, अध्यात्म और विज्ञान की बात की। दरअसल विज्ञान भी सत्य की खोज का एक मार्ग है और उस सत्य की खोज के मार्ग में वैज्ञानिक लेबोरेटरी में बैठ करके कुछ उपकरणों के माध्यम से सत्य का अनुसंधान करते हैं। और हमारे ऋषि मुनियों ने इस शरीर को ही प्रयोगशाला बना डाला और उन्होंने उस अनुसंधान के बाद जिस सत्य का साक्षात्कार किया वो हमारे सामने प्रस्तुत किया। इसलिए अध्यात्म और विज्ञान एक दूसरे के विरोधी नहीं बल्कि एक दूसरे के पूरक हैं। दूसरी बात जो मैं आगे बढ़ा रहा था, हमारे उपनिषद में पुरुषार्थ चतुष्टय की कल्पना की गई, अर्थ, काम, धर्म और मोक्ष। जब इन चारों के बीच में संतुलन रहता है तब हेल्दी सोसाइटी का निर्माण होता है, स्वस्थ समाज की संरचना होती है। किंतु जब व्यक्ति अर्थ और काम के पीछे अंधी दौड़ लगाता है, धर्म और मोक्ष को भुला करके, तब समाज में विकृतियां उत्पन्न होती है। आप चाहे उपनिषद पढ़ लो, आप भगवत गीता पढ़ लो, गीता जी का आखिरी श्लोक है, यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्ण यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धर तत्र श्री विजयो भूति दुर्वा नीति मतिर्मम। लोकमान्य तिलक जी ने गीता जी की टीका लिखते हुए उन्होंने इस श्लोक का लीक से हटकर के अर्थ किया। उन्होंने योगीराज कृष्ण को अध्यात्म का प्रतीक माना और अर्जुन को भौतिकता का प्रतीक मानते हुए कहा कि जहां पर अध्यात्म और भौतिकता के बीच में संतुलन है, वहीं पर श्री है, वहीं पर भूति है, वहीं पर श्री है और वहीं पर लक्ष्मी है। आज अपेक्षा है फिर से उस संतुलन की। ये कनोडिया जी हर साल कॉन्फ्रेंस क्यों कर रहे हैं? वो उसी को जगाने के लिए। पर होता क्या है, हमारे भीतर जब स्वार्थ की चेतना प्रबल हो जाती है, हमारे भीतर, सबके भीतर 3 प्रकार की चेतना है। स्वार्थ की चेतना, परार्थ की चेतना भी है और परमार्थ की चेतना भी है। आप कहेंगे महाराज जी ये कोलकाता वासियों के लिए बड़े क्लिष्ट शब्द हैं, सरल भाषा में कुछ। तो स्वार्थ का मतलब है स्वार्थ की चेतना, परार्थ की चेतना और परमार्थ की चेतना। कनोडिया फाउंडेशन, एचपी कनोडिया इतना काम क्यों कर पा रहे हैं? स्वार्थ का मतलब है मेरा सो मेरा और तेरा सो भी मेरा। परार्थ का अर्थ है तेरा सो तेरा और मेरा सो मेरा। किंतु परमार्थ का अर्थ है तेरा सो तेरा, मेरा सो भी तेरा। पर जब जब हमारे भीतर स्वार्थ की चेतना प्रबल होती है तो परार्थ और परमार्थ की बात न दिखाई देती है न सुनाई देती है। एक मित्र ने दूसरे मित्र को फोन किया कि हेलो, वो मैं राहुल को भेज रहा हूं 10 लाख रुपए दे देना। वो कह रहा हेलो हेलो क्या कह रहे हो, आवाज नहीं आ रही है। अरे उसने कहा अरे जो 10 लाख रुपए दिए थे मैं राहुल को भेज रहा हूं, दे देना। बोले हेलो हेलो, आवाज नहीं आ रही है। अब मोबाइल का जमाना नहीं था, बीच में ऑपरेटर था। उसने कहा जी आवाज तो साफ आ रही है, वो 10 लाख रुपए मांग रहा है। बोले तेरे को सुनाई देता है, तू दे दे, मेरे को सुनाई दे नहीं रहा है। जब जब भीतर में स्वार्थ प्रबल होता है तो परार्थ और परमार्थ की बात न दिखाई देती है न सुनाई देती है। कहीं न कहीं एचपी कनोडिया जी के भीतर का वो स्वार्थ विगलित हुआ, इसलिए वो समाज के लिए सोचते हैं, राष्ट्र के लिए सोचते हैं और इवन की विश्व के लिए चिंतन करते हैं। और यही तो हमारी भारतीय संस्कृति है जिसने वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की बात कही, जिसने सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामय की बात कही। आज अपेक्षा उसी बात की है, किंतु हम देख रहे हैं दुनिया के जो हालात हैं, उस हालात के बीच में इस प्रकार के संवाद की बहुत जरूरत है, क्योंकि युद्ध, हिंसा और आतंक किसी समस्या का समाधान नहीं। हम देख रहे हैं इजराइल और फिलिस्तीन का चल रहा है, यूक्रेन और रशिया का चल रहा है। परसों से फिर एक नया मोड़ आ गया है और कब विश्व युद्ध छिड़ जाए हम कह नहीं सकते, लेकिन आखिर में भी उससे हासिल क्या होना है। जिस भी दिन युद्ध खत्म होगा कनोडिया जी, बातचीत की टेबल पर आएंगे तो भला पहले ही टेबल पर आ जाओ ना। आज मासूम बच्चे मारे जा रहे हैं, पूरे विश्व की इकोनॉमी प्रभावित हो रही है केवल एक अहंकार के कारण से। अपेक्षा इस बात की है संवाद के द्वारा, वार्ता के द्वारा, पीस थ्रो डायलॉग के द्वारा हर समस्या को सुलझाया जा सकता है। इसलिए कनोडिया साहब मैं आपके इस प्रयास की बहुत बहुत सराहना करता हूं और साथ में मैं आखिरी बात के साथ अपनी बात संपन्न कर रहा हूं। आज अपेक्षा इस बात की है यह असंतुलन क्यों हो रहा है, और उसके लिए हमें अपने एजुकेशन सिस्टम को जब तक, क्योंकि एक ही बदलाव का जरिया है और वो है शिक्षा, वो है एजुकेशन। किंतु हमारा मॉडर्न एजुकेशन सिस्टम जितना भी है वो केवल हमारे लेफ्ट हेमिस्फीयर को जगाने का काम कर रहा है, जो कि बुद्धि, गणित, तर्क के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है। किंतु हमारा राइट हेमिस्फीयर जो इंट्यूशन पावर के लिए, जो स्पिरिचुअल डेवलपमेंट के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, वो बिल्कुल सोया पड़ा है। और ये बात मैं एक सन्यासी होने के नाते नहीं कह रहा हूं, मेडिकल साइंस इस बात को एक्सेप्ट करता है कि अगर स्टूडेंट का सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम ज्यादा सक्रिय है या पैरासिम्पैथिक नर्वस सिस्टम, या तो वो हीन भावना में चला जाएगा, दब्बू रह जाएगा, या इतना आक्रामक बन जाएगा। जैसे वर्जीनिया की यूनिवर्सिटी में एक स्टूडेंट ने 32-33 को शूट करके रख दिया। बंधुओं और बहनों, हमारे भीतर एनिमल ब्रेन भी मौजूद है हमारे इस मस्तिष्क में। तो इसी मस्तिष्क में हमारे नियोकॉर्टेक्स परत भी मौजूद है। आज अपेक्षा इस बात की है कि नियोकॉर्टेक्स परत को जगाया जाए, एनिमल ब्रेन को तिरोहित किया जाए। वर्तमान की शिक्षा प्रणाली बौद्धिक शिक्षा पे बहुत ध्यान दे रही है, शारीरिक शिक्षा पे भी ध्यान दे रही है, किंतु उसके साथ साथ मेंटल डेवलपमेंट, इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट, मानसिक विकास और भावात्मक विकास का क्रम नहीं जुड़ता है। यही संतुलन की बात है। मैंने बात का शुभारंभ भी संतुलन से किया, समापन भी करने जा रहा हूं, क्योंकि जब तक ये संतुलन नहीं आता है, शिक्षा के द्वारा भी हम देखते हैं कि एक साइंटिस्ट सही समय पे पदोन्नति नहीं होती है, बहुमंजिली इमारत से कूद करके जान दे देता है। डॉक्टर कहलाने वाला भी जो है जब नशा करता है, हम सोचने के लिए मजबूर होते हैं क्या हमारी शिक्षा ने इतना ही नहीं सिखाया। हमारी प्राचीन शिक्षा प्रणाली युधिष्ठिर और द्रोणाचार्य जी का वो संवाद, सत्यम व धर्मम चर क्रोधम मा कुरु, छोटा सा पाठ था, बच्चों से कहा याद करके आना। अगले दिन सबने तपाक से दोहरा दिया। एक स्टूडेंट ने कहा याद नहीं हुआ, कहा फिर कल याद करके आना, दूसरे दिन भी याद नहीं हुआ, तीसरे दिन जब लापा पड़ा, अब तो जमाना वो नहीं है, और चांटा पड़ते ही युधिष्ठिर जी कहते हैं मुझे पाठ याद हो गया। बोले ये क्या बात है? बोले गुरुदेव आपने ही तो कहा था कि शिक्षा वो शिक्षा है वो जीवन में उतर जाए। अब तक मुझे गुस्सा आता था, आज चांटा पड़ा, जब गुस्सा नहीं आया तो मैं कह सकता हूं मुझे पाठ याद हो गया। आज अपेक्षा है हम अपने इमोशंस और संवेदन पर जो है नियंत्रण कैसे करें। इब्राहिम लिंकन ने लेटर लिखा था राष्ट्रपति को कि आप मेरे बच्चे को भूगोल पढ़ाएंगे, खगोल पढ़ाएंगे, गणित पढ़ाएंगे, किंतु आप वह भी पढ़ाइए कि जीवन में जब उतार चढ़ाव आए तब संतुलन कैसे रखना, तब धैर्य कैसे रखना, तब बैलेंस कैसे रखना, अपने इमोशंस पर कंट्रोल कैसे करना। व्यक्ति गाड़ी लेके जा रहा था, संध्या का समय, ट्रैफिक पुलिस वाले ने देखा, रोकने की कोशिश की, भैया गाड़ी कहाँ दौड़ा रहे हो, इसके लाइट ही नहीं है। उसने कहा अरे बीच में से हट जा नहीं तो मारा जाएगा, इसके ब्रेक भी नहीं है। वो गाड़ी कितनी खतरनाक होगी जिसके लाइट भी ना हो, जिसके ब्रेक भी ना हो। वो इंसान कितना खतरनाक होगा जिसके अपने इमोशंस और पेशेंस पर नियंत्रण नहीं है, जिसके अपने भीतर का इंट्यूशन पावर जागृत नहीं है। आज अपेक्षा है वो इंट्यूशन पावर जागृत हो, वो इमोशंस पर नियंत्रण की कला हमारे हस्तगत हो, और ऐसा होता है तो निश्चित रूप से अध्यात्म और अधिक उसका तेजस्वी और वर्चस्वी स्वरूप हमारे सामने होगा। बंधुओं और बहनों, धर्म जोड़ना सिखाता है, तोड़ना नहीं सिखाता। धर्म के क्षेत्र में हिंसा, घृणा, भय और नफरत, इसका कोई स्थान हो ही नहीं सकता। और दरअसल तो धर्म का तेजस्वी स्वरूप लुप्त क्यों हो रहा है कि हमने केवल उपासना को ही धर्म मान लिया। हालांकि उपासना उपयोगी है, किंतु आचरण शून्य उपासना का महत्व सुगंधित सबसे अधिक नहीं हो सकता। अपेक्षा है धर्म का दूसरा आयाम हमारे जीवन में नैतिक और चारित्रिक मूल्यों का समावेश हो, और तीसरा इससे भी महत्वपूर्ण है जीवन में अध्यात्म का अवतरण हो। और जब अध्यात्म का अवतरण होता है, इसलिए मैं कहूँगा कनोडिया साहब, आज अपेक्षा है धर्म को अध्यात्म से जोड़ा जाए, धर्म को समाज सेवा से जोड़ा जाए, धर्म को सामाजिक कुरीतियों के निवारण का माध्यम बनाया जाए। और ये कार्य जो कनोडिया फाउंडेशन करता है उसके लिए मैं आपका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूँ, संत होने के नाते साधुवाद देता हूँ। और इसी तरह से आइए हम सब मिल करके भारत को दिव्य और भव्य बना करके वसुधैव कुटुंबकम के सपने को साकार करें। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ ओम अरहम।
Acharya ji, I have a question for you. How does yoga and meditation integrate with scientific research?
बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण और समसामयिक प्रश्न किया है। आप देखिए, योगा को सन 2015 में संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ के अंदर मान्यता प्राप्त हुई कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के रूप में उसे मनाया जाने लगा। और मेरा ये सौभाग्य रहा है कि प्रथम अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के अवसर पर मैं यूएन क्वार्टर में संबोधित होकर के यूएनओ को संबोधित करने का अवसर मिला। और अभी 21 दिसंबर को वो हमारी महान विरासत जो जाति, धर्म, संप्रदाय और क्षेत्र से परे हैं, उस ध्यान को इंटरनेशनल मेडिटेशन डे के रूप में संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ ने, यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने घोषणा की और मनाया गया। और हमने देखा, देखते ही देखते करीब 85 मिलियन लोगों ने जो है विश्व भर में उस ध्यान से जुड़े। क्योंकि ये ध्यान जो है हमारे भीतर की, योग जो है ये हमारे भीतर की नेगेटिविटी को खत्म करता है। और जब भीतर की नेगेटिविटी खत्म होती है, सकारात्मक सोच, विधायक चिंतन, पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग, क्योंकि यही कहा गया हमारे प्राचीन ग्रंथों के अंदर, यादृगी दृष्टि तादृगी सृष्टि। दृष्टि के पीछे सृष्टि का निर्माण होता है। दृष्टि बदलते ही नजारा बदलते ही, नजरिया बदलते ही नजारा बदलते देर नहीं लगती है। तो इसलिए मेडिटेशन और योग वो हमारे भीतर की नकारात्मकता को खत्म करता है, पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग को पैदा करता है। और इसीलिए हमारे प्राचीन ऋषि मुनियों ने कहा, और ये केवल शारीरिक ही नहीं, शारीरिक, मानसिक, भावात्मक तमाम प्रकार के स्वास्थ्य को ठीक करता है। और आजकल मैं आपको बताऊं, शारीरिक बीमारियों से भी ज़्यादा साइकोसोमेटिक डिजीज है, मनोकायिक बीमारियां हैं। कोविड काल के बाद में जब मैं अमेरिका गया, कनोडिया साहब, मुझे अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति जो बाइडेन ने कहा कि हमारे स्टूडेंट 60% स्टूडेंट इस समय तनाव से, डिप्रेशन से शिकार हैं। मैंने उनसे एक ही सुझाव दिया, और गन वायलेंस बड़ी समस्या हो गई है। मैंने कहा देखिए, गन तो एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, असली प्रॉब्लम है इस खोपड़ी की, असली प्रॉब्लम है इस मस्तिष्क की। तो जब तक एजुकेशन सिस्टम में पीस एजुकेशन जैसे कार्यक्रमों को इंट्रोड्यूस नहीं करेंगे, समाधान नहीं होगा। मैं आपसे भी कहना चाहता हूं, ये मेडिटेशन और योग इसका किसी धर्म विशेष से नहीं, ये सब जो है हमारे भीतर की उस प्रकार की सारी समस्याओं का समाधान देता है। और इसीलिए ऋषि मुनियों ने कहा था, पहला सुख निरोगी काया, और धर्म ने भी कहा शरीर माध्यम खलु धर्म साधनम। धर्म की आराधना भी तभी कर सकते हैं जब शरीर स्वस्थ हो, और शरीर के स्वास्थ्य के लिए, मन के स्वास्थ्य के लिए, भावना के स्वास्थ्य के लिए, आत्मा के स्वास्थ्य के लिए मेडिटेशन और योग बहुत उपयोगी है। इसलिए मैं यही कहना चाहूँगा कि बंधुओं, ये केवल चर्चा का नहीं, इसको नियमित चर्या का विषय बनाइए। और हमारे महापुरुषों ने ऐसे ही नहीं कहा, एक घड़ी आदि घड़ी राधि मैं पुनाद, तुलसी संगत साधु की कटे कोटि अपराध। ये क्या है? ये आधी घड़ी में आधी घड़ी, 24 घंटे में सिर्फ आप 24 मिनट का संयोजन जो है मेडिटेशन और योग के लिए करते हैं, मैं गारंटी ले सकता हूं आपके घर में जो ये मिनी डिस्पेंसरी जो बनी हुई है ना, दवाइयों के डिब्बे रहते हैं, वो सारे फेंकने की नौबत आ जाएगी, जरूरत नहीं रहेगी। केवल आप 24 मिनट जो है अपने लिए निकालिए और मेडिटेशन और योग को जीवनचर्या का विषय बनाइए। आज वेलनेस सबसे बड़ा उद्योग बनता जा रहा है। कोविड काल के बाद में जो हम नहीं समझा पाए थे, वो उस कोविड के थपेड़े ने समझा दिया। तो आज अपेक्षा है, आज हम देखते हैं पश्चिमी देशों में मेडिटेशन, योग, आयुर्वेद, नेचुरोपैथी, ऑर्गेनिक, ये सब आकर्षण का विषय, मिलट तक जो होता जा रहा है। तो उसके पीछे पर ये अवश्य कहूँगा कि उसको केवल चर्चा का विषय नहीं, चर्या का विषय बनाएं, आचरण का विषय बनाएं, क्योंकि व्यक्ति उपदेश से नहीं बदलता, बदलाव के लिए प्रयोग जरूरी है। धन्यवाद।
Thank you. A big round of applause for Acharya ji. Thank you. I now invite my fellow panelist, Dr. Prasun Mishra, eminent scientist, precision medicine and genomics, to deliver his address. The format that we are following here is we have members from science, technology, spirituality, and humanity. So this is a conference for that, and that's why the entire format of this is exactly in this way. Thank you. Preston, over to you.
Thank you, Shaman. And it is a pleasure to be in a land of Vivekananda, Rabindranath Tagore, Yogananda. And it's my first time, so this is an amazing experience, amazing vibe, and thank you, Kanoria ji and Kanoria Foundation for hosting such a vibrant event. And I think President, I liked one of the quotes that he mentioned, that he was looking to find folks who are both balanced spiritually as well as professionally, and he rarely found that. And I think that's the foundational aspect a society should work on, because that's basically I have studied, I'm curious by nature, and I have studied why civilizations fell and why the civilizations who were successful, and I think how people conducted themselves and their connectivity with purpose, with consciousness, with their own community played a major role. And I think that's what this confluence, the message should go out to the society, actually, in the event and post-event. And I would request you all to spread this message whatever country, whatever city you come from, and let's together change the society for good, actually, because healthy individuals create healthy societies, and healthy societies make great progress, actually. So I am basically from San Francisco Bay Area, and I am a scientist by training, as Shaman mentioned, and I am also deeply spiritual, which is not all the scientists are, and I have also been blessed to interact with some of the scientists who are also deeply spiritual, including my collaborator Francis Collins, who headed a national NIH, National Institute of Health, and he wrote a book called The Language of God, the DNA, the Language of God. So there are amazing scientists that are also spiritual, because we all understand that if you are so curious that you have studied everything, all the available literature, all science, and you are at the cutting edge, and you poke your head out and you see there's a lot that needs to be discovered, and every day the progress has to be made, and you cannot assume things, actually, the things that come out in media and the press, these are all current understandings, but they will all, keto is good one day, later on it's not good, actually. So these are trends that will keep coming. So what I say is that, basically follow your own intuitions, and do your study, and conduct yourself in a way that suits with you, with your family legacy. I think when it comes to eating, it has been said that always eat things that your great grandfathers ate, actually. So it's a different recipe for everybody. It's not a personal recipe. So I'm also deeply I try to meditate twice a day, and I see an amazing crowd, and there's a spiritual all the spiritual energy in the room. So I'd like to try a simple technique. By the way, I'm also a part-time meditation conductor, so I have conducted several meditation sessions in the Bay Area, and we have a vibrant community. But let's do this. Let's synchronize the energy of this room. So you all relax, actually. Relax and sit down comfortably. Actually, let's sit down comfortably. Yeah. Stop the cell phones. Just retire those cell phones. Just let's synchronize the energy, actually. Yeah. And I'm watching you. Okay, all cell phones in. Okay, so let's do this. Give me 10 ohms, actually. So what I'll do is you lead this, and then you give me 10 ohms, and let's experience this, actually. So close your eyes. Relax. Relax your body. Relax your shoulders. Relax your legs. Feel your breath. Start. I'll lead and then you follow. Louder, the vibrations itself, they are, Om is not a religious sound. It's basically the galactic center vibrates with Om, the sun vibrates with that, and this is so your core being vibrates with this sound. So I think you can, if you vibrate, you kind of synchronize all the energies, and if we all are synchronized, we all are one. I think we'll be able to achieve more from this session than distracted. So let's do that, and then everybody's participation is much appreciated. Let's go. Om. O goes up, and then the symphony. Om. Om. drag that Om. 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 Last one. Om. Just sink in your body a little bit. Feel your breath. Lungs. Feel your lungs. They serve you involuntarily. Feel your heartbeat. Also involuntary. It serves you. Feel your stomach. It digests whatever you put in. Sometimes it gets upset. Literally. So be careful what you put in. Thank your intestines. They process, they absorb all the nutrients. Thank the bacteria in your gut, microbes, billions and millions of it, that help you process that. They all live within you. Now see the blood flow. White blood cells, red blood cells, they're all rushing through your veins, arteries and veins, going through your heart, coming out. Come up to the brain. Always thinking, always analyzing, always advising what's safe, what's not safe, who is trustable, who is not trustable, always judging. Let it go. Relax. It's all safe. We are safe. Relax. Relax your arms. These are first to come to rescue if anything happens to your body. So thanks them. Relax your palms. Relax your thighs. Relax your legs. They're the ones who carry you all day long. Bring you. Take you places, bring you back. Thank them all. And billions of cells in your body that are conducting involuntarily a lot of activities that you even don't know. You are a big colony, walking colony of cells. So we are a mini form of Earth. A tiny Earth with various cities and highways and channels connected with each other. And there are different cities, heart, muscle, kidneys. They're all different cities made up of different cells. They're all performing their function. They're all one with, in tune. They don't complain. They know what to do. Your white blood cell never complains. that, oh, that virus is coming, let it go, let it pass through, I'll catch the next one. No, they're all there. They die until they die in the battle. This is all happening inside you. And knowing that, honoring that, being conscious of what you put in your body, what you breathe, how you behave, what chemical reactions you do in your body. Whatever you watch, whatever you see, whatever you consume, not only eating, but what you're watching, what kind of smells are around you. These are all, they're all creating chemical reactions, and these chemical reactions have a byproduct, and these byproducts get stored in your body. So think about it, what kind of chemical reactions you're doing in your body, day to day. Honor your body. Your body is a gift. It's a temple. Without your body, you cannot function in this world. After this, you pass, your soul passes. You still exist, but you will not have this body, and you cannot do those beautiful things that you can do. So we are all blessed to have this amazing body. Let's honor that. You may open your eyes now. And that's my focus. We are basically taking care of, we are working with patients to try to help them take care of their own bodies and minds. Yeah.
Thank you, Prasann. That was a wonderful demonstration of science can get into spirituality. We are from the scientific community. We are as spiritual as a spiritual person. And a spiritual person is as scientific as a scientific person, is our belief. Our background, I have one question for Prasann. I think, what is the intersection of medicine and spirituality in making something called a good human being?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And again, I will continue what I mentioned, is that the way we conduct ourselves, what we put in our bodies, actually, you never know, but they will consciously change you. So you basically will not realize. You say, hey, I am, so after 1 week, if you continue doing what you're doing, you will become different. Because you have accumulated all those karmic debts or karmic, whatever you have done, and that changes you. So if we are in tune with medicine, so there are 3 different things that you can do. Preventive health, right? Actually, you can take actions, eat healthy. Actually, eat healthy. Also, get your tests done. Actually, there are a lot of people die because, especially in India, because their diseases are diagnosed very, very late. Going to the physician is that when you're not really feeling well. But I think in Western world, the preventive health is taking off, and then, consciously taking care of what's wrong, and then just, addressing those early on can, extend your life. And then finally, if there is a treatment needed, you treat yourself and move forward. So, taking together, I think that's the need. And I think if you stay vital, healthy, and you live a long life, actually, and do what you are here to do, I think that will be a good life lived, and will be a good human being, actually, a definition of a good human being.
Thank you, Prasann. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Prasann. I now invite my fellow panelist, Syed Salman Chishti, chairman of the Chishti Foundation, spiritual and interfaith writer, to deliver an address. Salmanji, please.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Greeting of peace, adab, salam, namaskar, sat sri akal. As we extend our greeting and gratitude to Dr. Hari Prasad Kanoria Sahab, whom we all fondly call as Babuji. And coming back to the International Forum year by year, being with the Kanoria family, is truly an extended spiritual family that we always experience here. With Dr. Rahul Verma Sahab, and through his efforts, people from around the world are here to experience what India has always stood for as a manifestation of that spiritual realities, centuries after centuries. And after I conclude my talk, I'm going to tell you something which happened in the last 60 minutes. And so to begin with the presentation, as it's this year, the theme is about science and spirituality. And as coming from the Sufi path, where we are always deeply resonates and deeply rooted in these philosophies which we call falsafa, and application which is in practical understanding, where what we talk is experienced by all those who are part of the gathering and also beyond that. So, to begin with, it's enlightenment as a journey within, through the service as a focus of science and spirituality. In Sufism, enlightenment is not a destination, but a perpetual journey towards inner essence, which we call as batin. It is a journey of discovering the divine within oneself. The great Sufi masters teaches us that enlightenment is not attained in isolation only, but through love, compassion, and service towards others. As Hazrat Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti Gharib Nawaz, the place that I come from, Ajmer Sharif, which many of you have heard, many of you have experienced, many of you have visited the place in Rajasthan. He says, love all and hate none. Love towards all and malice towards none. With unconditional love, serve the human fraternity and serve the environment. Khizmat-e-Khalq is the cornerstone of Tariqa, the Sufi path, and all spiritual pathways that we all belong to. By serving humanity, we align ourselves with divine love, breaking barriers of ego and separation. Science and spirituality are shared quest for truth. At first glance, science and spirituality may appear as a separate notion. But in truth, they are complementary paths leading to the same goal. That is, unveiling the truth, which Lokesh Muniji has mentioned, that the whole philosophy is knowing thyself. While science seeks to understand the universe through observation and reason, spirituality seeks to experience the divine through intuition and inner reflections. In the Holy Quran Sharif, repeatedly invite us to ponder the signs of creation. For example, chapter number 3 and verses 190 implores, indeed in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the days are the sign for those of understandings. This reflects the perspective that understanding that material world is a means to understand the Creator. Historically, we have seen that how those who laid the foundation of modern sciences were deeply rooted into the spiritual practicing aesthetics of their own personal and inner journey. Ibn Sina, who in the Western sciences is known as Avicenna, has one of his books, Canons of Medicine, which laid foundations of medical sciences, a pioneer in medicine, and he also wrote extensively on soul and its connection to the divine reality. Al-Farabi, a philosopher, scientist, who harmonized reason and spirituality, advocating the true knowledge is incomplete without divine illumination. Ibn al-Haytham al-Hazan, the father of optics, who viewed light as both a physical phenomena and a metaphor for divine illumination. These scholars remind us that the pursuit of knowledge, when infused with spirituality, becomes a sacred endeavor. Within the Chishti Tariqa in Ajmer Sharif, which many of you have experienced, we have the practice of Sama, the music that I asked the question to Dr. Goldsmith, where Sama, the rhythm chants rhythmic chants and music in Sufi gathering use sound vibration to elevate consciousness, the impact of sound on mental state. Zikr, remembrance of God, which just now Dr. Soon has talked about the impact of Om, the sounds. So we call it Zikr, meditation, the remembrance of God. The practice of repetitive invocation of divine names aligns neuroscience, which shows how meditation revives the brain of peace and focus. Sufi scholars like Al-Biruni contributed to the scientific understanding of time and space, rooted in spiritual practices of prayer and devotion. Service, again, khidmat, is not just an act of kindness, it is the spiritual practice, as Hazrat Khaja Muhyiddin Chishti Gharib Nawaz emphasized, on serving the poor, feeding the hungry, and uplifting the downtrodden are the act of worships. The Dargah Ajmer Sharif stands as a living testament to the ethos, welcoming millions from all walk of life, all faith perspectives, regarding their religion, caste, or whichever country or nation that they come from. Hazrat Khaja Gharib Nawaz also taught the foundational principles that if you want to be close to the Creator, Khalik, develop the three attributes of nature into your being. What are these three attributes of nature? Suraj jaisi shafkat, sun-like grace, darya jaisi sakhawat, river-like generosity, or zameen jaisi khatir tawazu, earth-like hospitality. And these are the three aspects. If we develop these three attributes of nature in our being, we will be able to be close to the Creator by serving with unconditional love. As the warmth of sun is for everyone. It never asks anybody's name, religion, nationality, language, or where they come from. A running river never asks who you are, where you come from, and what is your faith. And likewise, earth. That's why we call India Mother Earth. That today, we are not just using the resources of earth, but also abusing the resources of earth. But still, Mother Earth is ever so hospitable. So these are the three attributes of nature. And let me ask you again to see how attentive you are. So the three attributes of nature are sun-like. There are young students here. Sun-like, grace. River-like, very few sounds. And earth-like, let's do it again. Sun-like, grace. River-like, and earth-like. That's what Khaja Gharib Nawaz's message was. When we want to be close to the Creator, be in service to the creation with this unconditional love. Sufi falsafa and philosophy, particularly the Wahdatul Wajud, oneness of being, teaches us that all creation emanates from the single divine source. This resonates with modern scientific discoveries such as quantum physics, which reveals interconnectedness of all matters. Adi Shankaracharya also emphasizes in Advaita and Vedanta, similar emphasize that oneness of existence. These teachings remind us that when we recognize a unity, divisive forces loses their power and we align ourselves with the higher purpose of collective well-being. Unfortunately today, as Muniji has mentioned about the wars, divisions, and those forces are getting traction, not somewhere far off, but among ourselves. They are coming up with accusations, they are coming of claiming things, and they are just producing those divisive forces and words through TV debates and media, a part of media just for the TRPs. So it is our collective responsibility that India should never become part and parcel of this divisive ideology which unfortunately has plagued the different parts of the world. As Indian 1.4 billion together, if we resolve no divisive statements, no divisive voices, or even debates on TV could temper that unity which has been there for centuries after centuries. This is the collective resolve which we reinstate when we come at places that today's conference, the vision of Dr. Kanoria, and all that we have come together to realize this vision that no divisive forces could break the unity and harmony which our gurus from the ancient wisdom have united us so beautifully and so well aligned. Another practical ways of living the enlightenment is sacred spaces right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari to Amritsar to Ajmer Sharif to Tirupati. They are the symbol of inclusivity and harmony. Conversation that build trust and understanding are crucial for global peace. The interfaith dialogues. By nurturing young minds, especially with educational aspect which was discussed, with the value of unity and compassion, we prepare them to lead with wisdom and integrity. Balancing innovation and ethics. Scientific advancements must serve humanity, not harm it. While closing reflections, I would share that India stands always and poised to lead the world as Vishwaguru, that our ancestors, our gurus, our rishis, munis, our yogis, the Sufi saints have always emphasized on. Our strength lies in embracing our pluralistic heritage. The teachings of Khaja Garib Nawaz, Baba Guru Nanak, Adi Shankaracharya, Swami Vivekananda remind us that true leadership is rooted in service, love, and unity. Let us remember, whoever knows themselves knows their Lord. وَإِنَّ عَارَفُ نَفْسُهُ فَقَدْ عَارَفُ رَبُّهُ. Those who know themselves knows their Lord. By turning inward and dedicating ourselves to service of others, we unlock the potential to transform not just our lives, but the world around us. May this conference and confluence of hearts, mind, and soul inspire us to bridge divides, foster understanding, and work together for a world where peace, love, and justice prevail. Let me conclude with one of the last teachings of Khaja Garib Nawaz a month before he left the worldly realm, where he says, which really became the foundational aspect of the Chishti Tariqa. He says, love all and hate none. Mere talk of religion and peace will not take you far. Be the blazing power of truth. Be a beauteous balm of love. With your spiritual light, that's where he asked all of us to be responsible what we carry within us. As he said, with your spiritual light, dissolve the clouds of discord, war, and divisiveness. Be surcharged with peace and joy wherever you are, wherever you go. With your spiritual light, when you share this will become the purpose of your existence. So that I, as your Pir Murshid, as your spiritual teacher, and here, as an individual, our first spiritual teachers are parents. The teacher who teaches us, our gurus, they all bestow a sacred trust, a muqaddas amanat on all of us. We have to honor this sacred trust. And these last lines of Khaja Garib Nawaz always bring tears to our eyes, where the revered gurus, the saints, are asking us that carry it out dutifully and courageously, so that I, as a Pir Murshid, your teacher, may not be ashamed of any of your shortcomings in front of God and the holy predecessors in our Sufi Tariqa, in the Silsila, and the lineage of the saints. Imagine that our elders are asking us that any of our shortcomings should not make them ashamed, our elders ashamed. And that's the resolve that we gather together today. And that's the message from India to the world, as Maulana Rumi has says, Baza, baza, haranche hasti baza, sad bar gar tauba shikasti baza, idarga ima na umidi nist, idarga ima umidast, umidast, umidast. Come, come, come. Whoever you are, come. Even if you have broken your vows of repentance 100 times, come. Our doors are not the doors of despair. Our doors are the doors of hope, hope, and hope. And truly with this hope, India has always, in the past and even today, keep the door of hope open to the world. And that's what we resolve today at this confluence and this gathering. Thank you, Dr. Kanuria Sahab, and all the elders here. Adab, salam, bahut bahut duaएं. Thank you. And what I promised, what happened in last 60 minutes, I was not preparing to make any presentation. I usually don't. But when Dr. Goldman made a presentation, I sent part of my speech back in my office, and in 60 minutes, with the help of AI, this presentation was made in last 60 minutes. Thank you.
A good big round of applause for Salman ji. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's my time to probably speak a few words. We had some extremely knowledgeable speakers, experts, and far below expertise, far above expertise in any form. So I think what I leave behind is a thought process with you. I think the work of science, technology, religion, spirituality, the end objective is one: to create a good human being. If it does not achieve the achievement of creating a good human being, then no matter what we do, either for centuries or for many, many thousands of years, it's not going to work. With that in mind, we kind of thought that if I look at technology today, and I've heard so many speakers speak that, technology is going just like this. Quality of life is going just like this. Quality of humans are going just like this. It's the reverse. And why is it so? Everywhere we look, what are you going to leave behind for the next generations, for the generations that are to come? We miss the leaders who had led us thousands of years before, hundreds of years before, a few decades ago. We see a gradual demise in the quality of everything, in the quality of humans that this whole impact is producing. Even the quality of criminals are coming down in its own way. What we are trying to say here is that if I look at fundamentally a human being, the essential of a human being, it is got one very sophisticated power. That power is, it's got the ability to laugh while it is sad. It's got the ability to cry when it's happy. No other species known to man can do that. And this particular thing, it uses to its advantage. We all agree that a baby born in any part of the world is as innocent as the other, whether it's Africa, whether it's India, whether it's US, any part, the Gulf, doesn't matter where. But it is the social, the other fabrics that build around it that create the human being that he or she becomes. Now, we really wanted to go deep into finding out what is it that it's constantly going down and down, and what do we leave behind for the next 3 or 4 generations? 20 years, 25 years left maybe, but we intend to do something. And this was the quality what we figured out, that humans use this unique ability that I just described, to laugh when it is kind of sad and to cry when it is happy, to its edge and power as some form of an art of deception. You hear the word fake everywhere. Anything that you see, or you first check whether it's fake today, whether it's technology, whether it's anything that comes through. And then you want to kind of go back and figure out how are we going to kind of resolve with that? Is this the correct information? And it's everywhere. So the point is, human beings did a very unique thing, very, very unique thing. It did not, whenever you were born, it is a date. Your body vitals are a date. Your body statistics is a date. Your financial credit card system or score system is a number. Your educational marks is a number. The date we are all going to die is a number. The only area where we did not let numbers come is human emotions. Love, hatred, passion, greed, whatever you call them. And this is exactly why numbers did not come in. And I'll give you an example. When I'm saying, I like you, I like you, I like you. These are 3 different likes of the same English word. And I'm giving a number at the back of my mind to define that. Now this can actually, today, if you look at religion, spirituality, science, technology, we all believe, we all agree that they all are speaking about the same thing. Fundamentally, it is actually technology which is slowly bringing them together. But before I go to that point, I need to explain something more. We all learned in school necessity is the mother of invention. I fully agree with that. But I have a slightly different theory. I call it the theory of command and control. Human beings love the element of command and control. They first want to control themselves, the families, the next objective, society, the climate, whatever you call it. And what did they do? They first took out the computational, the only thing probably they could not control is the human body. So what did they do? They took out the computational power of the brain and controlled this as a computer. We all use our computers as devices, right? We have cameras, we have audio devices. we have networks from the body. Every major invention or innovation is nothing but an extension of the human body. Now, if that was true, the next thing that we would do, and that's why you see AI coming today, it's bad or good parts, whatever be it, that's not the debate, is that you now want to take out your intelligence and control it. Now, how much of that you'll be able to control or not is another debate altogether. But many people who come back to me about the ethical uses of AI, now it's a very simple question. If I, in this hall, asked to raise their hands who wants to lead their lives ethically, I'm 100% sure, even without asking you guys, that every hand will be raised. And the next question I ask is that, how many of you have not lied since childbirth, right? So here are a whole group of ethical liars trying to create ethics for AI. It can never happen. Just like any human, it's got components of the good and the bad. The objective of the index is to quantify human emotions. I have had numerous kind of reactions, but everybody thought that if we can create an index by the congregation of spirituality, of science and technology with AI at its core, 3 generations down the line, when you do want to become the leader of a country, people will ask you, sir, what is your index? When you want to go become a scientist, people will ask you, sir, what is your index? When you want to marry, people will ask, sir, what is your index? Of course, it's a mammoth effort, it's a mammoth task, and it is like setting up everybody together, be it scientists, be it spiritual leaders, be it from any realm, to come together and create what we are trying to define as a consortium of beautiful minds. That's the thought process. And this was an effort that we're trying to give. We will discuss in detail. I'm not getting into the details of this. The whole idea is humans at the core have to become good. Therefore, the after effects, whether it's spirituality, whether it's religion, whether it's science or technology, will automatically give. Our Shastras have defined the Satyug. Satyug is nothing but a congregation of good humans. With that, I kind of break here because I think we have had a wonderful kind of session. And a big round of applause for all the speakers. And thank you so much, Babuji, Dr. H.P. Kanoria ji, for this conference. Is wonderful. It's the first time that science, religion, and spirituality has got together. Thank you so much.
Shaman, can I take a few more minutes, actually? Yeah, I think we are a little bit running, we have some more, time. So yeah, I think I just wanted to mention a few things, and few points were brought into this conference from the morning, and one is suicide rates, actually. These are the burning, suicide rates, actually. Folks committing suicide, which is a burning, and I come from a physician community. Anyway, suicide rates are very high. People, taking their own lives, which is very sad. And post-COVID, it has gone very much high, especially in the early adolescent and younger generations. So, one thing that I learned, and I just wanted to share this with you. And if you share, whoever you meet, would be beautiful. And this has come from Veda, actually, that so we live in a multiverse. There are several universes, and then the universe, actually, so souls are created when the universe is created, actually, and then we will be in this universe till the universe annihilates itself within itself, actually. So if you take your life, there is no escape. There is a penalty to it, but this is not an escape, actually. So we will be stuck in this cycle until the universe annihilates itself. So this is just one. I just wanted to add this, and then second thing I wanted to add is there was a point that was brought in, the organic eating, and so one thing that has come in India is a diabetes capital. So I just wanted to share this. One study came out, and it studied what are the exposomes, actually, what you are exposed to that causes diabetes. And they found that pesticides, actually. pesticides are a major leading cause of diabetes, actually. So it's not it's not that you're eating sweet that you're getting diabetes, but it's a pesticide. So if eating something that is, that doesn't have, it's a conscious eating is, and then lastly, I'll just say that I was just talking to one of my physician friends who operates, patients, their hearts, actually. He's a cardiac surgeon. And then we were just having a breakfast meeting, and he was limiting what he eats, and he said, because I always cut open hearts and I see how much fat that's accumulated around that heart, and which is causing the illnesses. So overall, I will emphasize, and every religion emphasizes fasting, and I will again emphasize that giving break, actually, and getting body to clear what's being accumulated in you. So I'm a drug discovery scientist, and what is the most advanced drugs that are being created is they are trying to now bind to the byproducts that are stored in your body, and they are trying to remove them. So we have a problem of overnutrition, actually. Overnutrition. So how we can fasting is a one way to solve that issue. So yeah, these are a few things that I wanted to add. And overall, spirituality can lead to a good human index and good human beings. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And may we request Dr. H.P. Ganoria on all of our behalves to felicitate all the panelists present here today. And of course, the moderator, Dr. Ganoria. To Dr. Lokesh Muniji. And Haji Syed Salman Chishti ji. And Dr. Prasoon Mishra. And the person who held everything together, the moderator, Mr. Soumen Chakraborty, as also participant in this panel. May we request Mr. Shresht Sonkia to please come up and make the closing remarks and thank all our participants.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank our panelists for their wonderful thoughts and wisdom. I would also like to thank my grandfather for providing the platform for such insightful conversation. As Mr. Soumen Chakraborty said, science is derived from math. Spirituality is also derived from math, which leads to an interesting segue as someone who's involved in machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence every day. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is also derived from math. However, the rise of AI is often framed as a clash with spirituality, a battle between logic and faith. But what if I told you they aren't so different? Both AI and spirituality seek answers to life's biggest questions. AI explores the how to replicate intelligence, how to solve complex problems. Spirituality delves into the why. Why are we here? What is our purpose? AI, like meditation, pushes the boundaries of our consciousness. It challenges our understanding of what it means to be sentient, or to be aware, just as spiritual practices aim to connect us to something larger than ourselves. AI offers a glimpse into the vast potential of the universe, of interconnectedness on a scale we're only beginning to grasp. But with this potential comes responsibility. AI, like any powerful tool, can be used for good or for evil. It's up to us to ensure it's grounded in ethical principles, in a respect for life, for consciousness, for the very essence of what makes us human. Perhaps by embracing AI, science, and spirituality, we can find a path to a future where technology and wisdom walk hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we come to the end of this session. Before we begin the next session, may I inform you that along with the audience physically present here today, we also have a sizable imprint on various social media handles. Particularly, we are doing a Facebook Live, and we have many viewers, many views, many likes, many acknowledgement of the great work being done here. So it's wonderful to know that the world is with us, and that the good word is being spread thanks to social media to different corners of the world. Thank you. And we will begin the final session of today. But before that, let me remind you that tomorrow also we start on time, that is 10:30 sharp. And we would want all of you to come back, but also bring your friends so that we have a really full experience of this confluence, which goes without saying, is one of its kind. Right.